Kevin Stewart, a single man living in Warai, was going about his daily chores when Momo Kawashima walked into his apartment. He paused, looking at her in her school uniform, her face set and serious. "Kevin, I'm pregnant," she suddenly declared, causing him to drop the clothes he had been putting into the dryer. He was sure Momo was pulling a prank. His eyebrows furrowed as he tried to process the supposed news. He shook his head and said, "Momo, that's not funny. You shouldn't joke about such things." Momo calmly handed Kevin a letter, allegedly from the birthright of Warai. "I'm serious, Kevin," she stated firmly. "This is not a prank. Read this." Kevin reluctantly took the letter, his heart racing as he unfolded the paper. As if that wasn't enough, Momo added another bombshell. "My mum kicked me out, Kevin. I'm going to live with you," she said, looking at him earnestly. Kevin's world seemed to be flipping upside down. This was all too much. Anger surged within Kevin. This was too absurd. There were limits to a prank. "No, Momo," he said, his voice hard. "You absolutely cannot live here. This is my home, not a boarding house." In a fit of rage, Kevin grabbed a hammer from his toolbox. He turned to his dryer and began to unleash his fury on the large appliance. Each blow echoed in the otherwise silent room. Momo watched in shock. Momo looked at the destruction before her. Seeing Kevin so unhinged, she decided it was time to end the prank. "Kevin, stop," she said, raising her hands in surrender. "It was all a prank. I'm not pregnant. My mom didn't kick me out." Kevin ceased his attack on the dryer, looking at Momo with disbelief. Momo had pranked him before, but never to this extent. He felt heat rising to his face. He'd let her trick him into such embarrassment. He looked at the destroyed dryer, realization setting in. He had let his anger get the best of him. "Holy motherfucking shit!" he yelled, frustration and embarrassment seeping out of him. Momo winced at his outburst. He began the arduous task of moving the destroyed dryer out of his apartment. He grabbed a hand truck, struggling to get the broken machine onto it. Momo offered to help, but he dismissed her with a wave of his hand. The choruses of metal against concrete echoed through the stairwell. As he maneuvered the hand truck, the dryer wobbled before it came crashing down the stairs. It smashed through the railing, plummeting toward the ground floor. With a heart full of dread, Kevin darted down the stairs after the tumbling dryer. The scene that met him at the base of the building was beyond his worst nightmares. The decimated dryer had managed to crash onto a parked police car. The car looked like it had been in a horrible accident. The dryer lay smashed into the hood, the once clean paint now marred by dents and scrapes. His measly dryer had somehow managed to wreck a whole police vehicle. Shock kept him rooted to the spot, staring at the wrecked patrol car. The nearby officers were equally horrified, their eyes wide with disbelief. He could only echo his earlier sentiment. Holy motherfucking shit! A cloud of despair hung over him. His dryer was gone, and he would likely be facing a hefty fine to fix the police car damage. All this havoc because of a prank. Momo's prank. Momo, having followed him down, was now by his side, her face pale. When he finally found his voice, all he could manage was a weak, "Why, Momo?" He was still staring at the wreck, his heart heavy. Momo looked down, guilt written across her face. I didn't think it would go this far, Kevin. I'm sorry." But her apologies couldn't erase the disaster that had unfolded. In the end, her prank had spiraled out of control. The officers approached Kevin, their faces stern but sympathetic. Kevin braced himself for the inevitable reprimand, and perhaps even a fine or a court date. The joke had truly turned into a catastrophe. As Kevin dealt with the officers, Momo could only stand by helplessly. She hadn't intended for any of this. She just wanted to tease Kevin, give him a little shock. But she had ended up ruining his day completely. Later, in the quiet of his apartment, Kevin couldn't help but replay the day's events. His dryer was gone, and so was a chunk of his savings to pay for the police car. Momo's imprudent prank had cost him dearly. He sat alone in his living room, the silence deafening. He glanced at the empty space where his dryer had once stood. He sighed deeply, the reality of the situation sinking in. It was a day he would never forget. Momo, on her way home, felt a hollow pang in her heart. She had apologized, but it didn't seem enough. She looked at Kevin's apartment building one last time before walking away, regret heavy in her heart. Despite everything, Kevin found himself pitying Momo. She was young and reckless, but he knew she meant no harm. Even so, he resolved to have a serious talk with her about the consequences of thoughtless pranks. As the sun began to set, Kevin sat in the eerie silence of his apartment, alone with his thoughts. The day had been a complete disaster, and he hoped dearly that things would start looking up soon. That night, as Kevin sat in his quiet apartment, he swore to himself that he'd never let his emotions get the best of him again. It was a lesson harshly learned. Never underestimate the power of a prank gone wrong. Despite the anger and frustration, he was resolute about not letting this deter his relationship with Momo. He knew they needed to talk, and hopefully this incident would serve as a lesson for her as well. Momo, on the other hand, spent the night in deep remorse. She'd always been fond of pranks, but she had learned a stern lesson. There were consequences to everything, after all. The following days were tough for both Kevin and Momo. Kevin had to deal with the aftermath of the incident, while Momo had to face her guilt. Both were learning their lessons the hard way. However, the incident also strengthened their bond. It was a test of friendship, and both of them seemed mature enough to handle it gracefully. They understood each other better and respected each other's feelings. And so the prank that went horribly wrong taught a profound lesson, etched into their memories. While pranks could be fun, they also had the potential to spiral out of control, leading to unintended consequences. This was a lesson they would surely carry with them throughout their lives, the memory of a ruined dryer and a damaged police car serving as stark reminders. Indeed, it was a prank gone wrong, but with every incident there's the potential for growth and learning. Kevin and Momo, despite the chaos they had gone through, had undergone a transformation. The incident had prompted them to think, feel, and act more maturely, and so they moved forward, carrying the lessons from the mishap. Battle-scarred and wiser, they navigated their path, knowing that their bond was stronger. It was a debt they owed to the prank that went wrong. As for the apartment, the space where the dryer once stood remained empty for a long while, serving as a silent reminder of the chaotic day. But time heals, and eventually a new dryer found its way into the apartment. Life moved on, as it always does. The incident became a memory, a glimpse from the past. Yet it was a shared experience, a significant chapter in their lives, reminding them of the lessons they learned from the prank gone wrong.